pivot drive. Honest review time. Is it good? Is it bad? Should you get one? Let's talk about it. Step one, for those of you who don't know what the NuCanoe pivot drive is, it is NuCanoe's pedal system for their kayaks. It is specific to each kayak because, the cable needs to be a different length. The base for the pedal tower is different, attach points, things like that. So specifically the one I have is for a Frontier 12. So if you don't know what a pivot drive is, go check out NuCanoe.com, look at it, read some of the things of what it does and what it's meant to do, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how it performed, how I liked it, how I didn't like it, and what I think could be done to it to improve it. Because I feel like with any product out there, there's always some wiggle room to kind of upgrade something. And NuCanoe's already doing some of that stuff that I was thinking about. So looking forward to talking about all that stuff, and let's get into it with how it actually did on the water. The pivot drive did a couple things really well. One, I covered water, a lot of water with the pivot drive. I was able to probably go, the 2 days that I used it as my primary source of propulsion, I probably went, 10 or 11 miles each day. So it covers water really well, and it pedals fairly easily. I really did like that aspect of it, especially coming from somebody who is a paddler, first. Yeah, I have a motor on the Frontier 12, but literally I only use the motor in tournament settings. Everything else has been paddle. And up until I had the motor, I paddled everything. I paddled my Pursuit before that and the Old Town Predator that I had before that. So everything to me has been a paddle first situation. So having pedals in the Louisiana marshes was really nice. And in my last video, you saw me pedal a little bit there. A lot of the areas I was in, it was really shallow, like sub, 14 inches of water, looking for tailing reds and trying to sight fish. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity in those situations, but getting to those places was super easy and super straightforward, which I really did appreciate how easy it was to use once, you got it locked into place. So ease of use is definitely there. Pedaling, I consistently stayed at like that 3 to 4 mile an hour. Definitely that closer to that 3. When I pushed it, I could get 4, almost 4.5 when I was pushing it. You're not going to have that speed sustained because there's a lot of effort there, but 3 miles an hour is easy to do at a pretty decent pace. So I was able to sustain that speed pretty easily throughout the day, which is good because you don't want to overexert too much energy, and you don't want to spend too much energy to keep that, kind of baseline speed. I stayed in that 3 to 3.2 range most of the day with some pretty easy pedaling. So for the Frontier 12, that's pretty good because that's a big, heavy boat. I was pedaling hard, but I was definitely getting those speeds pretty easily. So that's 2 things that I really liked about it was I was able to cover a lot of water quickly, and the sustained speed was easy to get up to speed and maintain that speed. So those are 2 big time positives for the NuCanoe pivot drive. The next positive is the turning radius. So because it is mounted to the backside of your kayak and it's attached to the transom, you actually have a better turning radius because of where it's mounted. So rather than turning from the middle of the boat and having to go forward and start to turn as you got momentum in most pedal drives, since it's attached to the transom, you actually get immediate turn. So, if you wanted to go left and you were at a dead stop, you could easily turn left almost on itself, which was pretty remarkable compared to other pedal drives. And I've been in Hobies, I've been in Predator PDLs, I've been in native Propels, so I know the differences between those, and this was definitely different than those because of that turning radius aspect. I mean, you could get up to speed a lot faster and turn on a dime better than other brands. So I think that's the thing it does better than other brands is the turning radius and getting up to speed to turn. Because most brands you have to pedal a little bit and then turn with the rudder in order to get a sharp turn. With the NuCanoe pivot drive, you actually can just start your turn as you start pedaling. So it's definitely a big advantage in that scenario. Let's go over some other quick, obvious positives. The steering system is actually really easy and intuitive. It's literally just a back and forth, and it's straightforward. There's no turning, there's no real tension adjustments. It's just there, ready to go. And I think that's pretty important too. The other positive that's a big feature that they mention is the kick up feature. I ran into a lot of oyster bars down there, and having it be able to kick up and kind of protect itself and protect me was pretty substantial. So the fact that it kicks up and then it literally pops right back in when it needs to is pretty good. I did have some trouble sometimes getting it back in, but that's because I was in really shallow water in some areas and it just wouldn't come all the way down to click itself back in. So you just got to be conscious of that when you're out using it. Some of the things I don't like about the pivot drive, these aren't like deal breakers for me because the 3 positives I just mentioned before are actually way more important than these. But the ease of taking it off your kayak and putting it back on. The other pedal drive brands out there, you literally pop things up and the pedal drive is out. With this, especially if you're car topping like I am, you actually have to take out all of the components basically in order to car top it. And that's just time consuming and it's just tedious to constantly have to reattach this stuff to your boat. So that's my biggest negative, is that if I want to use it regularly, I have to detach it entirely from my kayak, put it in my car top it, take it off, get to the lake, put it back on, and reassemble it basically. Granted, it's not that much time, but it's 15 to 20 minutes of my time every single time I'm going out with this thing. So I definitely think that if you have a pickup truck, you won't have that issue because you can just leave it attached. If you have a trailer, you won't have that issue because you can just leave it attached. But in my particular situation where I car top it, I have to remove the pedal tower as well as the actual prop system in the back attached to the transom. I have to take those 2 things off. And because they're attached by a long drive cable, it's kind of a pain to load in my truck too. So that would be my negative number 2, is loading it into the car is a pain in the butt because I don't feel like disconnecting the drive cable every single time and having to put that pin, the shear pin, back into the actual pedal cable. So it's just a little bit of a tedious process to store it, as well as make sure that I can take it on and off as I use it. So that's probably the biggest downside. The other downside would be the attachment system to the transom. I'm not a big fan of how it does attach to the transom. I think the mount to the transom is solid, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable with some of the build quality of the actual the piece that connects to that transom mount. So that the piece that holds that actual pedal tower on. But we'll talk about it in a second about how they're improving that whole system. So it's already being looked at and worked on, and I think that's a great positive to this. So those are my big negatives for this, is that you actually have to take this entire thing off in order to transport it if you're going to car top it. So it's just kind of tedious and annoying. But and then the second piece would be, like I said, that connection to the actual prop shaft to the transom mount. So those are my 2 negatives, and I think those are pretty easy to think about future states of this and how you can improve that. So that's feedback I've shared with NuCanoe. So it's those things that we hope that they can fix in the future. I know the removability and having it stay on the boat isn't as easy because we don't have a big hole in the middle of the boat like other brands do. So it's definitely, that's one that will definitely be hard to tackle. But as far as the other improvement, NuCanoe is actually creating a brand new transom mount for all things going on the transom, from torpedoes to the new Newport Vessels motor to the pivot drive to the EPS system. So each of them are going to be interchangeable. And it's going to be easy to slide things in and out. So I think that might kind of answer the first one as well as that second one. It fixes that connection point, makes it more solid to me. And the new mount looks great. I haven't got my hands on it yet. I do intend on possibly putting an EPS on the back of my new Unlimited. So I should be getting the new mount for that if I go that route. Not sure yet, but yeah, that would be a big draw to doing something like that. So yeah, that's definitely in the works already. I believe you can get it on NuCanoe.com. Go order it if you want that kind of setup for your EPS and your Torqeedos. I'm pretty sure they're making it adaptable for the pivot drive. Don't quote me on that. I think it's coming. So I'm looking forward to them improving that system as well, the mounting system. Overall, I really enjoyed the pivot drive as a whole. It made my life easier on the water. Do I think there's some improvements? Yeah, I think there's some slight adjustments they can make to really like perfect it. Is it over-engineered a little bit? Yes, but I think a system like this has to have all of those moving parts in order for it to be as efficient as possible. And the drive is pretty efficient for how many moving parts it has. And I think that people get lost in the idea of having the pivot drive right in front of them or having their pedal drive right in front of them, that they forget that mounting it off the transom has the benefits of that turning radius and sometimes even speed. So depending on the hull design, having it on the transom could really help your overall speed. So just some things to think about when you're looking at pedal drives. The biggest draw to the pivot drive for me is that I can take it off and I can run a motor, or I can run a motor and the pivot drive, or there's just so many combinations with the pivot drive to make your experience on the water better. So that's something to think about as well when you're looking at kayaks and you're thinking about, do I need pedals? And that was a big draw to it for me. So if you want to go check out the pivot drive, go to NuCanoe.com, tell them I sent you, and yeah, I don't think you'll be disappointed with it. Like I said, it's an add-on. It's going to make your experience better with whatever NuCanoe model you have. Anyways, thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, doing whatever. I hope you enjoyed some of those clips of me fishing with the pivot drive. And yeah, just catch you in the next video. Thanks.